Yes, hello, folks. Welcome to the weekly Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Phil Brandt, joined with my regular co-host, the excellent James Rhodes, on this Monday, of course, after very, very disappointing derby defeat. Seems like we're always recording these podcasts either after a bad defeat, um, a poor draw or a rare win. Don't want to be too negative, Jamesy, because we're all tired of that negativity. But disappointing defeat at the weekend.
Yeah, it was disappointing for a few different reasons, obviously. I mean, number one, there's not much you want to sit and be positive about when you lose 3-0 to City. We've lost a lot of big games in recent years, and it's another one to pile on top of that, unfortunately. Um, it was tough. I mean, I think parts of it that frustrate me the most is I don't actually think United were like significantly worse. I've seen worse games from United against City where they spent the whole game deep sitting in a block praying to survive.
Yeah.
I don't think it looked like that, but City were very, very ruthless when they attacked, ruthless at exploiting errors that United made, clinical in their finishing, and United were anything but that in their attempts, if you can even call them that, to score goals. And it's frustrating because it looks a lot like we're still not knowing which United we're going to see week in and week out. Is it going to be a United where they're crisp with their passing, where they're tight, where things are on track? Are they going to kick the ball out randomly, lose the ball in positions they shouldn't, do stupid things that make just no sense from the basics of football? And it feels like that hasn't changed, which is ultimately part of it that's very disconcerting.
Yeah, it seems like a United team that, I made this point about Onana, but I think this goes right throughout the team. They're always trying to overcorrect for previous mistakes, and they focus so much on the things that go wrong that there's very little that goes right. I'm looking at this system, James, and I'm asking myself, okay, there's an obvious negative, but what's the positive? What am I seeing in week in, week out that's saying that this is worth persevering with? Phil Foden scores a header that shouldn't happen in a system. How is it possible that when you have three centre backs, the only guy that found space in the box was Phil Foden, 5'9", 5'10", to get trying to plant a header in the top corner? Like, that shouldn't happen. The benefit of this system should be that shouldn't happen. Okay, you know what? It makes sense to me because we have an overloaded centre back. We're not great in defence. This gives us some protection at the cost of giving us some attacking threats.
Right.
Where's the benefit? Where's the upside? Where's the, forget about what's happened. It's about what happens next. And if I'm sitting here looking at this system, my manager, I'm not blaming anyone in particular. Everyone takes collective responsibility. What gives me the confidence to keep persevering with this? Where's the positive? I need someone to tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that I see that are going to be, I think, in essence, hard to accept. And I don't want to do like the whole stats thing and just say, oh, look at these great stats and these things all look good. And so that means everything's all good. I mean, factually, United still end the fourth week with the second most chances created in the league, but
irrelevant, James.
Fuck all goals. They can't score any goals. No, but if you're looking for like an upside, if you watch it, do they feel like we will have the ability to create chances in this team? Probably, because we have and we do. Do they think that one of the things that was positive in the game that I did see very, very well is United's press. I watched it even back this morning. United's press is really good. It's probably the best press in the league, funnily enough. But they don't do anything once they get it back. And that tends to be a bit of the problem. They get it back, they recycle it, they lose it, they don't dig in with it. It's like...
Yeah, the reason why other teams don't have greater chances created stats is because they have balance in their team. Sure. They aren't playing 10 forwards and going, do you know what? We can win the chances created trophy. No one gives a fucking good chance. You are there to win a football match. I remember Jose Mourinho being asked about this after the game. I can't remember who was manager of the time, but the other team having more possession. He goes, they can have the ball. We have the points.
Yeah.
This is Ruben Amorim's son. You spent a couple of $100 million. Chances created is not a trophy I care about.
Of course.
But if you look at this, if you really want to do stats, I mean, the stats are absolutely abhorrent, James, for a Manchester United manager. I mean, they murder him.
Yeah.
They make these other statistics that to me aren't relevant. They don't infer anything that would give me confidence. Chances created. Well, what is that? Does that mean you've shit strikers then? You spent a couple of $100 million on them, buddy. Your other striker just got a second that you beat it out the door. Right? And for Napoli, now I'm not saying that's his fault, but give me a reason to believe.
Yeah.
And I've never given up on United manager this quickly, James, but we're talking about a guy that can't win 2 football games in a row. Now, listen, undoubtedly, every football manager in professional football knows football inside out. They know tactics inside out. They know things, nuances that you will never know. And rarely does a manager at a football club, especially the size of Manchester United, fail because of their soul and aptitude.
Yeah.
Because you need quality people all around you now. You need the best assistants, you need the best coaches, you need the best facilities, you need the best medical science department, you need the best, football department, and maybe you're the aggregate of those has to come out to being the best. Otherwise, a manager has no chance at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I'm not saying that Ruben Amorim is a bad coach. He clearly isn't. Right? He clearly knows football inside out. But what I would be concerned about, James, is when you have your own players coming out after the game talking about, like Bruno Fernandes, about how easy City overloaded them in midfield because the centre-backs don't step up. I'd be really concerned because it's with United, you're right. There was patterns in that game. I think they actually had more possession where they looked okay, but they don't have a serious goal threat. And all it takes is just 1 or 2 attacks, and United are they crumble.
Yeah,
it's so easy to beat. I mean, James, this is a team that deservedly lost against Grimsby. Scraped a win against Burnley with a last-minute penalty. If you look at Ruben Amorim's form, right, everyone knows the stats. Of all the teams in the Premier League, he's bottom, James.
Yep.
Bottom of the fucking table. This should get a man. This should be intolerable. But Ineos, James, this is their guy. Now they got the Ten Hag decision wrong. They're not in exactly the same position they were in a year ago, right? With a manager who now would be more of a surprise if he did turn it around than if he didn't. And they have taken a mediocre team to what is 100%, no hyperbole, a team scraping relegation. And James, you extrapolate out the next 20 games, whatever. I have zero confidence that this United team. Like, I'm certain that 20 games from now we're having the same conversation.
It could be. I mean, look, there's not at the moment. There's nothing in terms of like evidence to the contrary. There's no evidence to suggest like, oh yeah, this is going to suddenly, get a lot better or look great or everything's going to be fine, in a minute because it's all going to come right. It's going to be the same players right now at the minimum until January. It's going to be the same setup and things like that. I don't care. Ruben Amorim doesn't change the system. I don't particularly think managers are brought in to. Some managers come in, they change a bunch of things. Some managers come in, they're supposed to just do what they do. If they don't have confidence in doing something different, why do something different? I mean, that part of it doesn't make sense to me. I don't think there's any. If the system doesn't work and the manager isn't good at playing a different system, then you just do replace the manager. There's nothing wrong with that statement inherently to me at all. I don't think that's an issue as well. But yeah, I mean, without winning matches, there's never going to be any confidence in it, no matter what. That's for sure. There's nothing that can be really said or changed against that because it's just the basic truth. If you don't winning games is what gives people confidence in it working. There can be, even when you take like any good stats, any good underlying stats, any good things like that, there's a tipping point where it has to result in winning football matches. And I think we've kind of past that point, or at the very least at that point where the wins need to begin. The wins need to be going. We have to be winning more than we're losing. We have to be staying up in the table in the direction that need to be. And without that happening, there's nobody slightly could be blamed for lacking in any confidence at the moment. It's completely understandable to me.
Imagine you're looking at this from a different perspective. You're not a United supporter. We look at the details and all the consequential minor details that you don't look at from a macro perspective. You zoom out, you look at this. I would be looking at this if this was Real Madrid or something in complete disbelief. How is it possible that this football club can't get 11 players on a pitch with those resources and at the very least be in the top half of the table? Like, you should be doing that by accident, right? Yep. Fine, there's a big problem that's not winning the league. How is it possible that this is the anatomy of failure? It's such spectacular failure, James. Anyways, forget about Amorim for a second. They picked this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exceptional young coach. No question about it. But everything they've done since then has not made sense to me. So they picked this guy to play a system that couldn't possibly be more different than what this current set of players were brought to do. Couldn't be more different than what United's identity is, right? And they go out and they give him one player in January. Pep Guardiola got 180 million in January, right? And then halfway through the summer, they've signed Cunha, and that's it. And then they get a goalkeeper right after on the deadline day, and then don't play him against City, which I understand. And I'm going, and now I'm listening to players, to people who know what they're talking about on TV, said the Man United players just can't play this system. I'm not questioning Wilcox, Barada. Why did you bring this guy here? What was your? I want them. What was your expectation? Is this commensurate with what your expectation was? Because no one told us. No one said, "Hey, this is going to be extremely painful. We're going to finish this first season with a points total that's got many teams relegated." James, that should be an indictment on anyone, that you shouldn't have a job at Manchester United after that ever again, right? Not this football club with the resources it's spent. This is a daily embarrassment. And I look at their decision making, and I'm having serious question marks about it, because the way they push players out and then sold them and moved them on at massive, deficits of what they should have been, really poorly managed. Recruitment is not being the way. Ruben Amorim should have had those players, or players that are fundamental to that system, on by July 1st, in my opinion. Because you had them for months. There should have been a strategy. Okay, we're not going to buy in January, but we're going to move quickly out of the block so that you have a team. You know what your starting 11 is against Arsenal by the end of July. That didn't happen. Why?
Yeah. I mean, look, I agree with a lot of that. A lot of that sense in the short term of potentially as well what's going wrong. I mean, like what you say. Look, I get the decision of saying, all right, we're going to go with a different manager, a different thing, because we don't really care what the system's been at United, what the style's been at United, what the player is at United, because we're going to turn the entire squad over, frankly, within a couple of years, which they will, to be fair, turn it over within a couple of years. So you bring in somebody and you say, all right, it's going to be very different, but it's a lot worse at the moment in terms of the ability of a lot of players who are there to carry this out. Seemingly, I would say than I expected, probably seemingly than they expected, because otherwise they should have done more with it. Like, if the goal this season was Europe, to me, it looks like you missed out on probably the goalkeeper should have been in before the first ball was ever kicked in the Premier League, right? You're never getting Europe without that goalkeeper. I mean, not to go in on Bayindir, but again, because it's certainly not all on him. The City game, I think he could have done better on a couple of those things as well. I mean, you're asking goalkeeper we're waiting for the moment when a goalkeeper does one thing, like we saw from Donnarumma, of making a save you probably wouldn't easily expect. But City got that from Donnarumma right off the bat, off of that one shot from Mbeumo. You know what I mean? We haven't seen that all season. So it's like, yeah, that's already poor, because how are you going to do that? So to me, it seems like, I would say, there's a bit of misestimation on it. They needed a midfielder in there and they wanted to get the right one. That's fine. But then if all the business had been done earlier, you probably have better chances to have made that happen. You wanted to get a goalkeeper, should have happened earlier. Benjamin Šeško was brought in late enough. That was his first Premier League start. He still looks like I liked him, but I still think he obviously could have used more time with the team, with the training, with all of that, to get on the same page as the other players. No doubt about that. That's for sure. So, it's like there's a lot of little things that add up to big things in terms of, the execution of whatever plans might have been in place. I'm okay with the plan, actually, in general, personally. I get the plan. I get what they're trying to do. I get the aspect of bringing a manager. Well, I look at it this way, and this is just how I see it. Like I'll go back to Marcus Rashford when he said in his commentary, which I thought was really good, to Gary Lineker, when he said United have kind of pretended for a long, long time about like going in an actual direction in terms of a style of play. And they go one manager to the next manager to the next manager, and it bounces back and forth and never actually do anything. They never actually even start. I'm okay with them saying, you know what? Forget the players that we have here, because it's Frankenstein's monster. It's a bunch of different players from a bunch of different managers, and there's nothing we can play a way that suits it, but it's not ever going to be good enough anyway. And I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think there's any manager that could have walked in and said, we're going to win titles playing this way. Yeah, no. I get that. But that's what I'm.
Now, how do you build something and fix it?
But that's what I'm saying. I get that's the plan, right? So I'm saying I understand the plan. Then you say we're going to pick a guy, a system, a way of playing, and say that's how we're going to build our team. Now, I think at the end of it, where maybe you're getting it, maybe they thought, maybe incorrectly, maybe they knew it but didn't want to say it. I don't know the answer to it. That we've got to turn over. That they did enough this summer to turn over for it to produce and do well. Maybe they thought that. If they did, it seems like a misestimation. One of the interesting things, like we talk about, for example, is Bruno Fernandes. At the start of summer, there was the talk about, obviously, and at the end of summer, to be fair, about him going to Saudi. And it was essentially very, very close at that point in time. And I look at that situation, and the more I think about it, the more I think that the main thing is it was up to him. But if he's not going to fit it, then they should have told him to leave. If he's not in the plans, you should have told him to leave, because you have to commit one way or another to what you're doing. That's kind of the point I look at. I'm not saying like Bruno needs to be sold or is a terrible player or something like that. But if he doesn't fit into the style and way that they want to play football, if you make that decision, then you have to sell him. You can't leave it up in the air and then say, well, we didn't get a midfielder because we kept him, and then 4 weeks into the game, you're saying we don't know where to play Bruno Fernandes. You can't be in that situation.
Okay, so this is where they have a problem with the plan, right? Mm-hmm. Because it seems to me they had a plan for diagnostics. We know this is broken, so what? I can look at any piece of equipment and know that it's broken, but fixing it, that requires an engineer with expertise that knows what they're doing. When I'm looking at stuff like that, and then I'm hearing little snidey comments again from Amarim, like you've no idea what's been going on. Like, well, what is that? Explain that. Because 2 weeks ago you were saying you were happy with the squad, Ruben.
Yeah.
Happy with your. I mean, nothing wrong with these players. It's a mentality, but you don't know what's been going on. That's gossip, shite.
Sure.
This is where he shows his inexperience to me, James. Now, Ruben Amorim is still a very inexperienced manager.
Sure. Yep.
Had a good run at Sporting, but so what? Villas-Boas had a good run at Porto.
Yep.
And I can go lots of managers that had good runs in different countries,
Yep.
countries of their birth, where it's completely different mentality. You understand the mentality inside out. And it's sport, and eventually you're going to end up with better players in the opposition where there's massive differentials. Premier League is not massive differentials. This is where the rubber meets the road, where your qualities and not just your ability to forget about tactics, Steve. Most management at the top level is not tactical based.
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's based on managing people.
Yep.
It's based on footballers know how to play football.
Yep.
And football is not theoretical. So the variance, there has to be massive variance within a system. Have your system fine, but there has to be variation within the system that allows for flexibility. Otherwise, what's the point of even scouting United? You know exactly how they're going to play every single week, right? There's no threat. This is like table football. They don't move. They're in the same position every week. Okay, well, eventually we're going to find the spaces in behind you because they're wide open. You know, why do the centre-backs never know when to step out? They're always outnumbered in midfield. Why do they look confused? Luke Shaw looked like he doesn't belong at his level anymore.
Sure.
Right? Luke, why was that not recognized in pre-season?
Yep.
Players are coming back slimmer. So what? Kobbie Mainoo should be in this football team. If you can't find a place in your system for Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes, and your system doesn't score goals and concedes goals, what are we fucking doing here? Do you know what I mean? What are we? If you're great, if you're married to your ideas, but if your ideas are going to get Man United relegated and you sack, go manage them somewhere else, because they may not be your coaching fundamentals, your whatever your principles and all that are. They're not working here, mate. The record is an abomination. I'm telling you, James, this isn't. United could have a caretaker manager and be doing better.
Of course, agreed.
It seems like Amorim's contribution is a net negative, not a positive. I'm trying to see what if he got sacked today. What am I going to mourn? What is he taking with him that I wish we didn't lose? I mean, this is a manager that hasn't been able to win 2 games in a row. That is unbelievable. That is a total disgrace. Like, I don't know. I'm going to be a paranoid about it, James. But when I look at it from I've always wondered what it feels like to support a team, you know, that's getting relegated and gets beat every week. Now I know. No exaggeration. Now I know what it feels like. It's just totally demoralizing watching it. Every game, you can be 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, and you don't feel safe.
Yeah. Look, I can't disagree with any of that. I mean, when I look at it at the same time, being quite honest, like again, I've accepted almost certain things that are just going on each and every week because 1, I can't do anything about it, and 2, it's too stressful otherwise. But at the same time, the thing that I have, Phil, and this isn't necessarily the answer. This isn't even the right answer necessarily. But one thing that I see that has happened time and time again, right, that I just could not stand if happened again, because it's not about for me, it's not about if Amorim goes, what do we lose? It's about what do we actually do next? Because the answer to that, I don't actually think is clear in the slightest. Because I tell you what happens, right? Solskjaer leaves. Rangnick comes in. He manages 2 games of getting the team to press, gives up, goes back, deep block, counterattacking football, hero ball through the middle. Ten Hag comes in. He's got his system. He's got his ideas from Ajax. He plays this whole season, this whole preseason a certain way, sets up the team this way, plays 2 games, gets absolutely smacked by Brentford and Brighton. Deep block, counterattacking football. When is it going to end? Because if we sack a manager and the next one comes in and does that, just fucking burn it down. Because there's nothing else to do. Because we're going backwards. And I'm not saying you can't do anything because of the fear of like that, but that can't happen again. And that cannot happen again. We cannot do that again, because that is the pragmatic way to go to results. I don't want to see us do that ever again. I really don't. It's just pointless.
I agree with backwards. You in that sense, James, but there's only one way that can be done, right? If you're going to go from a completely different style, you have to transition. because you can't get relegated by changing styles, right? So, okay, we can't go from being a 4-3-3 high pressing team to a 3-5-2 or 4-5-3-2. We're going to have to make sure we have a bit of a hybrid until we have the complete players that can play exactly that way, and the players that are showing capability of being able to adapt to that system, we keep, and the ones who don't, we sell, we move on. Yeah. But we can't go from this to this and then get relegated without bringing in players that are capable of playing that way. Not just capable of playing that way, but capable of playing for a club like Manchester United.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can have all these visions. Oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. You know what? We're going to go from a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1 to 4-3-3, Barcelona high press. Well, do you know what? I don't have the players, but we're getting drilled. But I want to play this way because ultimately that's going to be, no, this doesn't work, right? If you want to play that way, okay, teams that have done that are teams with huge resources that bring in the best coach in the world, Klopp or Guardiola, completely commit to them, give them resources to bring in the players that they need, and don't half commit. You don't send, they're not sending a goalkeeper on deadline day. James, this is one of the most fundamental. I've said this before, this is like buying a Ferrari, dressing it up, and not being able to afford the new tires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the goalkeeper is your tires.
Yeah.
I don't care how good the rest of it is. If you got shit tires, that's just going to be a nice car broke down on the side of the road.
No, look,
I know
I'm
it's
with
not.
you.
I know it's not flashy. I know these are the parts that nobody likes to do it because it doesn't. But James, these are such obvious decisions to me.
Yeah.
Sesko is going to have Hoyland treatment in about 2 weeks. I know.
Look.
It's already coming to you.
I know. Look, I'm with you on this, and you have to bear in mind something like what I said. I believe strongly what I said, and the problem I think is I feel like we're about halfway through, and there's no going back. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying is we're about halfway through, maybe a little more.
Tell me what the halfway.
No. Hold on a second. What I'm saying is we're about halfway through turning the team over from a team that plays one way to another, and so we're still stuck in the middle. Here's the thing, but we've done that with every single manager. We have. We did it with Ten Hag, and we gave up.
Wait, are we halfway to transition into a relegation team? Because it could be fair.
Maybe.
We look like we're 3/4 of the way. You make me unfair. We look like we're almost there, to be fair. Because that's the only transition.
Maybe. Look, the results are obviously. What I'm talking about is purely from a building standpoint. It's like halfway. But I also look at it and I go like, which is kind of bad because I look at it. One, it's September. You can't make any more changes to the squad now. There's nothing you could do about that, until January, and then you can make some more changes to the squad. That's not good. Two, I look at it and I say, yeah, look, to me, some of the red flags are things like the keeper, because I don't want to do too many ifs and buts and things like that, right? But if you take the keeper performances from the first few weeks and you don't have those errors, you have a totally different context to games like yesterday, in terms of the season, right? But you've allowed that to happen.
Not coming, James. If only someone had.
I know, but that's why it raises a red flag, because it's like we knew that was going to happen, and then it did, and it was that bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't like little things; they were really, really bad. It was like blatantly. That's a red flag to me, because I look at it and I go, I can buy into this, and I do, to be honest. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm overly optimistic. There are things I buy into that I get, and I'm willing to. Well, I don't have a choice in the matter, right? It's nothing I can do about it, but I'm willing to see how it plays out over the next few months, because it's going to anyway. And I'm willing to at least be objective as I can be to say, all right, if it turns around, cool. Then they look like geniuses. If they don't, then they look like real idiots, right? That is something that I know objectively was a massive red flag. The fact that wasn't addressed until so late. There's no reason for it. It was obvious to anybody, and that makes me go, what the hell? You know what I mean? It makes me go, what?
You got a couple more months in you, James?
Yeah, I do. What else am I gonna do?
Every
what else am I gonna do?
Every United match sounds like I don't know. I would rather listen to my parents make love than watch another United match, because I'm telling you, it's worse than that. I'm sitting there going, Jesus.
I may be a masochist. I may be a masochist in this
See
film,
the
but I
people
gotta
around
tell
me.
you, I may be learning things about myself I didn't know, but at the same time, I kind of look at it and I go, I know, again, I know people are going to disagree with this, and I may be totally wrong in the end, and that's okay. I'm okay with being totally wrong in the end. You know what I mean? Because one, I can't do anything about it, right? So it's really up to me and my mindset of what I'm setting in terms of how I view the game and how I view what's going on. But I'm willing to be totally wrong in this, but I'm almost not. I'm not enjoying United losing, but I am to a degree okay with the fact that we've actually committed in one direction for once. That's how I feel about it. And I'm not saying that it's going to work. I'm not saying I'm right. Like, again, I could be 100% wrong. We come back to this the next international break. There's Chelsea, there's Brentford, there's Sunderland. I look at it and I think, I'm not saying my standards are low. United should get 7 points out of that, in my opinion, or it's another letdown. You know what I'm saying? If they do, I think we'll be having a different discussion at that point in time. If they don't, then the discussion is the same. You know what I mean?
What do
And
we
each
need to
game
get
that
7
goes on,
points?
I
One
mean,
game of football?
draw against Chelsea, beat Sunderland and Brentford. I think that would be inexcusable to do less than that. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm sitting there going, it's okay to keep being absolutely shit and things like that. I'm not in the slightest. I think that's what should be expected, is at the minimum that you get something against Chelsea at home. We haven't lost in like 10 years against Chelsea at home. Another record we should not hopefully break, but that's why I'm saying I'm not going to accept it if we lose against Chelsea at home. We shouldn't. I don't think we should be that bad,
Okay,
all
but
things considered, and we should beat these other teams.
James, I know what should happen. We should
I
have beat
know.
them. And
I know.
I don't have any confidence that this Manchester United team would win any football game, even if the opposition.
I'm not saying anybody should.
Even I think they would draw no leads if the opposition didn't show up.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think they'd draw no leads if the opposition didn't show up. I mean, this football team doesn't even score goals. I'm just so sick of seeing missing open nets. Sesko straight through hitting the keeper. Can someone put this round ball in players within a month of signing for United who look like they are petrified? Like, there's no way that these players are this bad individually. There's no way. How is it possible? I mean, I don't know. I've said this before, so apologies if I've made this point on this podcast before. This has to be an institutional problem, James, right?
Yeah.
Think about this in any other industry, right? Imagine you have this massive company and you go out and you hire the best engineers in the world, engineers that before you hired them were highly sought after, highly accomplished, highly decorated, and within 2 years at your institution, there's no end product. The engineers want to leave. They look like novices at their careers, and you're doing it again and again. This has to be an institutional problem. There has to be something inside Manchester United that makes the job of a footballer or a manager impossible, right? Because Ruben Amorim, whatever we're saying about him right now, was a highly sought after young coach. I do not believe Ruben Amorim would be in this position if he'd have taken over another Chelsea or Liverpool or City. They would not be looking at this.
Yep.
Why can't Ineos provide a football club along with their cohorts that is manageable? Because when players are leaving now, they're excelling. Garnacho makes a contribution. Attacking contribution, Chelsea right away, right? We're still waiting for that from Sesko.
He also made a good contribution for them scoring a goal as well.
But nonetheless, right? I would right now I would take Sesko scoring and being responsible for a goal on the other end. Right now, whatever, right? We are looking at players Højlund 2-2, right? Højlund did he score 2-2 last season at all once? No. As far as I can remember.
Has he scored 2? I thought he just has the 1.
Like 2 from Napoli, right? And
I don't know.
And
I didn't even know he played 2 games. No, he's just got the 1 game, 1 goal.
Well, hold on. I watched the replay of that goal. That counts as 2, does it not?
He missed another one, if that's what you're talking about. But he 1 goal, 1 game, 1 game, 1 game, 1 goal, which is good. Good for him.
but and look, I recognize players leave clubs and they go on and they do well elsewhere. That's fine, James. But for me, why can't these players? There has to be an institutional problem here. There has to be.
Yeah.
And that's a bigger concern because when we're talking about the next Amorim, United have locked themselves into a decision when they replace Amorim that they have to replace someone. They have to replace Amorim with someone who plays exactly like he does. So they've even
similar enough. Yeah,
yeah, with the same system. Yeah. This is the system you committed to, right? And continuity requires that you hire somebody that has similar philosophy to the one you hired because he had that philosophy. See, Ruben Amorim had to emerge as a candidate as a result of a forensic process of this is a process of elimination. This is who we want our coach to be. This is what he needs to exhibit. This is his characteristics. This is his style. That leads us to Ruben Amorim. We can't say we're going to have Ruben Amorim and adopt all his principles and styles. Otherwise, that goes with him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that has to be, an emergent property of a process that, selects for someone like Amorim rather than Ruben Amorim selecting the process.
Sure.
So the process has to lead to another candidate just like him with the same system, similar philosophy, style, everything else. Otherwise, we're doing exactly what we've been doing before. So where would you even go after this? Xabi Alonso played 3 at the back at Bayer Leverkusen, goes to 4 at Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have an issue with implementing his ideas.
Sure. Again, all I'm saying is that all I'm saying in the difference there is you have a team at Real Madrid that's been well built for a long, long, long time with the best players.
Significantly cheaper than what United have put into their squad.
What's that?
For significantly less than what
because they've recruited better for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like that much is for sure. Like they've recruited better for ages and ages. You know what I mean?
I'm not asking Amorim to match Real Madrid, win European Cups, win leagues. I'm asking him to win a couple of games of football. That's it. We should be able to.
I know. I look at it and I'm like, I see it in 2 ways. There's things that I can agree with. There's things that I don't care about. Like, I don't care. I didn't want Ruben Amorim to come in and adapt to the players we had because they're a failed group of players, in my opinion. When he came, I'm not taking every single player, you know what I'm saying? But I am saying that they are a failed group of players. Like you come in, you say, well, because it wasn't all on Ten Hag why he failed. It wasn't all on Solskjaer why he failed. You know what I mean? It's like there is the aspect of still the players are the guys on the pitch, 11v11, you know what I mean? I don't want a manager to come in and say, oh, well, I'm going to figure out how to win games with Dalot, Maguire, Shaw, Bruno, Casemiro, and these players. That's not what I want a manager to come in to do, in my opinion. So it's like, if we had, Rudiger and Valverde and Mbappe and these types of guys, I'm saying, yes, you come in, you make it work with those guys, okay? Because I know those are the best players in the world, and they're going to be here, and you do what you've got to do to make it work with them. That's your job, right? And that's the job at Real Madrid. The recruitment, everything else has been separate. It's been done right. Like you said, in terms of the team supporting the manager for years and years and years. At United, it's not been the case. So Ten Hag came in, had the same issue. I've given him a hard time about a lot of things, but same issue. Comes in, I'm not going to win with these group of players. I'll bring in new players to try to win with a group that I feel that I can put together.
I'd give anything for to have Ten Hag success, James. I'll be honest.
Well, I get that, but I think it's a slow boat to nowhere in the same way. You know what I mean? I'm not. Hey,
we're going on a slow boat. We're definitely we're going to be sitting here.
I'm here.
We're sinking, big man.
What I'm not gonna do, and I don't accept, is I'm not going to pray for mediocrity to relieve me from something poor, because that's where I go, just burn it down. I don't want to live in mediocrity. Like, to a degree, I prefer you win or die, and there's no in between. And it's like, and no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. That's just the way I see it. I cannot stand we've been in endless middle for 15 years. Well, 13 years, right? We've been in the middle for 13 years. And honestly, I find that purgatory worse than nothing. You know what I mean? It's just my feeling on a matter. It may completely, again, I can be totally wrong in the end. If we get relegated, I'm sure I won't prefer it.
I'll be honest. I get what you're saying, but there were moments during Ten Hag's tenure that did not feel mediocrity. Like whenever
I
they
disagree.
beat City
I
and they were
disagree.
sitting, in the top three, and they were in the top three. James, they got Champions League. They won it. They won an FA Cup against City in the final. They won a League Cup.
We won a League Cup and we lost to 7-0 to Liverpool the next weekend.
Well, you know what? He lost 6-3 to City. What happened the next 10 games?
I hear you, but look,
what is that? That was in his first season. Why am I not getting it from
I know.
When he was asked could he play the way he played at Ajax, what did he say? No, we don't have the players. Why can't this guy say that?
But he failed trying to play the new way. He failed the same way. We had the worst midfield, the worst defense. In his second season, we allowed more shots than Derby County, the worst team in history, against us. It wasn't working.
We've got the most shots now, right? I'm fucking might as well have Lee Harvey Oswald up front.
Look, I get it, but I get that. But doesn't that just all I'm saying, Phil, is that doesn't that in the end point to a slightly different issue? What was successful about Ten Hag's first season? Because I can give you the answer, and he has two names, and it's Marcus Rashford. He scored every game. Every game for about 4 months straight. He scored every game.
No, hold on.
Of course.
Casemiro was acting.
Why did we score goals? Marcus Rashford.
Okay, but this was a bigger issue because he was being asked to count Martial and stuff as a striker. He did. But remember, he wanted Harry Kane. Was promised he was going to get Harry Kane.
I know.
So this is.
That was the following season.
I'm not asking. Well, that was the following year.
Yeah,
but he was the only person to get that type of season out of Marcus Rashford. No one else was getting.
Correct.
That, right? Yeah. And to me, massive mistake with Anthony, unquestionable. Right.
Yeah.
And United should have sent a striker, in my opinion. And I'm not sitting here exculpating Ten Hag. What I'm saying is that manager got sacked, and there was a collective consensus agreement that was what the right decision should have been because he was finished in an unforgivable 7th.
8th, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
But the performances were look. All I'm saying is the performances were significantly worse than that.
But performances are great. There's a lot of teams that can play exciting, attractive football, but lose games.
No. Look, I agree with you.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
So,
but let's not forget, we started the following season last year after he kept his job. He had these bad performances, and a lot of people are saying, "Hey, look, the bad performances are going to end up getting results somewhat based on your performance at some point in time." When Ten Hag got sacked, we had 8 points from 7 games. Okay, that's the next international break that we're talking about. If we look at where we're going, right?
You're going backwards.
To me, no, well, hold on. We have 3 games. We have 4 points. So I look at that and I look at it kind of the same way. If we go 7 games and we're on 6, 5, 8 points, then we've gone nowhere. And then I can look at Ruben Amorim and I can say, you had last season, which I can forgive personally. Some people can't. Fine. Some people can't. I can, because I don't think he was given anything to work with last season. But this summer, you certainly got tools. You certainly got more good players. You got people to work with. I don't care if it's not enough. It's enough to do better than we were before. If we're not a lot better, that's why I said I'm looking at 7 points, because I'm saying, for me, 11 points out of 7 games with a tough start is fine. And if we're at that level at that point, it's good. If it's not, then we haven't improved. So, and then it's
31 games. It's 31 games, a reasonable sample size to me, because I would get you. That's almost this whole season. To me, that's a sample size that I can say I can make it. Because if we can't, James, then there's a lot of managers we're going to have to turn around and say would have been unfairly treated. Like,
but hold on a second.
Let's say Ten Hag is atrocious, gets sacked by Bayer Leverkusen because he's absolutely inept, but yet he's still miles ahead of this manager. 31 games, 31, 8 wins, 7 draws, 16 defeats, minus 13 goal ratio, a 25% win percentage. That's relegation, James. 31 games.
I know.
You want to sit here and defend? Look,
I'm not defending him, to be fair. I haven't.
Yeah, but we said we've nothing to work with. Nothing to work with in comparison to who? Bournemouth? in comparison to the bottom three. Because James, the only team he finished above outside the bottom three who were relegation certainties from October.
Now that's just the Premier League, is it not? Which I'm not saying isn't relevant because we play in the Premier League. But there was
the only relevant factor. It's the only relevant metric.
It's not the only relevant because we played in the Europa League. We played in a European competition.
Manchester United, bread and butter. They build a team to win the Premier League, not to win the Europa League.
I understand that.
Okay, so
they didn't have it.
What happened to Ange Postecoglou for winning a European trophy and finishing?
He was 2 years in. But he was 2 years in.
But he gets sacked for his league position, James. Daniel Levy said that.
Of course.
Okay, of course. He won a European trophy and finished in pretty much the same place.
Below, it was bad. Look, if we finished 15th this year and we're not in Europe, if we finished 15th this year and win an FA Cup, I'm not going to say he should stay. Yeah. Not even a little bit. If we finish 9th this year and win an FA Cup, I'm not going to say he should stay. That's not what I'm saying at all. But
we're having this conversation.
When I look at a manager being put in the middle of a season, I honestly could not care less what results they get. It's always a disaster.
Oh, hang on a minute.
In my opinion,
he was brought on there. He was, hey, you know what? You get free hit here for the rest of the season.
Didn't he? Didn't they tell him it's now or never? And he said, I wanted to wait till summer because of this exact issue.
Okay, no. But here's the thing. These players don't turn around at the end of the summer and go, well, that was a free hit, Ruben.
Yeah, but they're the ones on the pitch.
All the things. Wait a minute. I've just had half a season with this guy. I'm no longer getting picked for my national team. We're losing they don't turn around and give him a clean slate. He's not.
They've been here for 6 years, 5 years, 4 years. They're not 6-month players.
James, let's keep this conversation to these guys, if I work under my boss for 6 months and I fucking hate him, right, because of all the things that he's done, the management might turn around and say, well, look, you come in kind of at the end of the year, so those are free hits. Not to me, they're not.
Yeah, but you've gotten the last 3 managers sacked too. You don't have a leg to stand on.
The last 3 managers.
But I can't because let's take a player. Take a player. We say.
Let me finish.
Yeah. Go ahead.
These players don't care about Ten Hag or Solskjaer or Rangnick. These players are playing for Ruben Amorim. You can't go into a relationship and say strike the first 6 months from the record. It doesn't happen. It's not. The human beings don't think like that.
I get that.
The management team, it might be you can say that to the fans, but when you're asking 90% of the same players you worked with last season to forget last season and write it off, it doesn't work like that. You can't have a situation where Kobe Mainoo wants to leave right before the end of the window because he's not guaranteed to play. Guaranteed to play in a system that's going to get United relegated, James. This is not acceptable. Why is Ruben Amorim more important than every other aspect of this football club?
What I'm looking at on that front is that I'm every one of those players. They cannot sit there and say it's Amorim's fault how we did last season. They were on the pitch.
Well, not fully.
They played. No. But they can't say, "Look, Ruben, last season was your fault. You came in mid-season. We played like shit. It's your fault." If anybody thinks that way, they need to leave.
But they can't turn around and say,
"I don't." Attitude.
But they can't turn around and say, "I don't care.
I don't trust his message. I want to leave." They haven't earned the right for me to trust them. How many of them have earned the right for your trust at this club? How many of the football players have put in consistently good performances for years and been let down by the others? Because last year, Bruno Fernandes under Ten Hag, before Amorim showed up, was a disaster. He got 3 red cards, and he was a disaster. He let Ten Hag down. He did. As much as Ten Hag may have let him down, he did the same in that direction. I'm not just saying Bruno. It's a lot of them,
I agree with what you're saying.
I don't trust one of them, so it doesn't matter to me if they trust the manager or not. I don't trust you. You haven't given me anything to work with to say I believe in you. I don't believe in any of them. That's the difference. Like I'm.
But if that's the case, why doesn't Amorim walk? I would.
I think he did genuinely consider it, to be fair. I don't think...
You walk from a job.
That's fair.
Right?
I don't think he wants to walk, but...
We've all had that. I'm going to...
Yeah. Right? It's an emotional, momentary thing, but he probably really isn't considering it.
But I don't like that either. Now, I defended him when he said, I feel like quitting 100 times a day. Okay. But if you're in telling your boss you want to quit 100 times a day, well, that's a lot different.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm going, he looks like a guy. He doesn't. United's a really tough job. Of no question about it. It's so difficult. And like I've said, I don't think all of this failure reflects on Amorim, because I don't think he would be experiencing this if he was at another top club, right?
Yep.
And I think the United are so far away from what they see themselves as that this will probably be a similar trajectory for anyone that comes in after Amorim, unless they fix the systemic problems and the institutional problems of the football club. And when you talk about culture is not an accident. So to me, I still see poor planning, James, poor execution. I listened to Jonathan Willis talk yesterday, who someone I respect greatly, who spent a lot of time looking at Amorim and Sporting and talking about the system that United players are being asked to play and how they just cannot play it.
Sure.
And how it creates such obvious overloads every week in the midfield that leaves United exposed. And all you need to do against United is to be decent for 10 minutes to beat them, because they'll have, even if they have the ball for 80 minutes, they're probably not going to score. This is, if you have a system that doesn't score goals, that concedes goals easily, and I'm trying to understand what would be the incentive. Give me a reason to believe that this is going to produce positive results. And once you're a player, stop believing that your methods are going to result in, it's going to result in victories, and going to result in, these guys not getting destroyed every week and trophies. Then you have a chance. If you were a Manchester United player right now, I guarantee you, when they heard that Bayern was starting on Friday, Bayern shit himself, was like nerves. Whoever's playing in defense is going, oh Christ, because now they got to be constantly worried about a goalkeeper making a massive mistake, which makes you nervous, which makes you more defensively minded, more reluctant to step up into midfield and take risks like other teams do, because you're always constantly trying to compensate for a guy who can throw the ball in the back of the net at any second. Think about what United players are thinking right now, teams. Do you think they've been in a position of Brighton where they can look at that start and go, well, the season's salvageable? I guarantee you, the mood inside the United and the belief and the optimism is rock bottom. Guarantees, here we go again, another shit season of just hell. Anthony crying with joy because he get out of United. All these players, same thing, freedom, really. Something's fucking wrong, James. Something's not right. No, I don't care. When do you see this with footballers consistently with any other club? This is, I'm looking at this going, if I'm looking at these players excelling when they leave and talking about freedom and talking about how great it feels to be away. I mean, this goes back to Lukaku's Pogba. This is not new.
Yeah.
As an institution, I'm going, what is wrong with this institution that this is a dream move that quickly turns into a nightmare to the point where players are in tears of getting away?
Yeah. What's wrong? I mean, look, you take Cristiano's things, all I can say to that, in my opinion, is you still haven't finished cleaning the tank and you still haven't gotten fish out that are already contaminated by this environment.
But the contamination is the point. It's not a
but if you still have people in it, it's like it goes back and forth. If you still have people who are contaminated by, like, I look at something and look, I'm gonna say it bluntly. People don't want to hear it very much. Whenever we score, Bruno's the worst player on the pitch for the next 10 minutes. Whenever we concede, he's the worst player on the pitch for the last 10 minutes. I watched the goal that City scored in the first place. United actually been really good up to that point in time. They had actually been the better side. They had a bunch of good chances. He doesn't mark Phil Foden. He doesn't try to stop the goal. He leaves him open running into the box. And the minute they score, he's yelling at Lenny Yoro and shaking his head and waving his hands and doing this. And then he loses his head for the next 10 minutes. And the entire team plays like crap for about 10, 15 minutes after that. That's your captain. That is not leadership. That's your second coach on the pitch. I agree. But you have two coaches, and they're both fucking it up right now, in my opinion. So you have your coach on the pitch and your coach on the sidelines.
Bruno's the attacking midfielder in that too, right?
Of them,
As an attacking midfielder, I think I have a reasonable expectation if I've got three centre backs that it's someone who's 5'8", 9, 10 getting ahead on the ball might have one of those three centre backs taking responsibility. I mean, sure, Bruno can add numbers, but Phil Foden's an attacker. Okay, if Bruno Fernandes's job is to be an attacking midfielder and track Phil Foden, those are our thought instructions. Those
are happening in every game in football. I mean, people used to give constant shit to the wingers for not tracking back. Because I remember when Rashford was here, everybody would say he's walking when he's not chasing players down. How many
goals was Kevin De Bruyne responsible for at City that City conceded?
I mean, I'm not going to agree with this argument because I think Kevin De Bruyne had one of the best defensive work rates in football.
But I'm okay then. So let me ask you: how many times did you see De Bruyne marking the most advanced attacker on a team?
Not the most advanced, but I've certainly seen him track back into his. But he wasn't. Doku was past them all.
But he was the most central advanced attacker. Where was my defense? Why?
I understand. Because it's his guy. It's his guy. But it's his guy in that responsibility in that phase of play.
If you're telling me that Ruben Amorim is making Bruno Fernandes responsible for marking Phil Foden on attacks, that's a sackable offense on its own. First of all,
Phil Foden's marking him in the other way. It happens in both directions in the midfield.
Anytime you ask an attacking player to defend, you're asking them to do something they aren't good at and they don't want to do, and you don't.
I hear that. I hear that part of it.
What do you do with you have them defend on set pieces? That's it.
I get that aspect.
I don't want my most attacking midfielder where Phil Foden is. Otherwise, the game's going to be played there.
Yeah,
I want my attacking midfielder on the other end of the pitch where I have him in the team to create goals, not to defend. Defend when it's convenient, when you press on the front line. But if I'm looking at Bruno Fernandes here, not my three central defenders, I'm asking, what are my three central defenders on the pitch to do then?
I get that aspect. Okay, I get that aspect entirely.
Is it the central defender's fault when United aren't scoring goals? No,
but it's a midfield is a midfield. I mean, the midfield as a consequence of where they are have to be responsible for both.
Why is it not Ugarte's man?
Ugarte's following Doku because Ugarte's running after Doku, who beats Luke Shaw, by the way, who looked terrible in that position.
So now you have a situation where your central defenders aren't doing their job, and you're now asking attacking midfielders to mark attacking wingers. And it doesn't make sense.
But every manager says defending is a team game. Yeah, it's a team game.
But when it gets in there, that's my central defender's job. That's what zonal marking is. Your zone is right here. Clear the fucking ball.
I understand that, but you have Erling Haaland in the middle who is being marked by the center backs.
Okay, so you have three center backs, right?
Yeah.
So what the other
Shaw gets beat by Doku.
Okay.
You don't usually go one-on-one with the striker in the box, though. You don't.
That's a defensive problem.
I hear you, but it is compounded. These are like compounding errors is the way that I see it. Like usually these things happen from multiple players not doing their job, not just one. Not doing the right thing.
Responsibility, and it's multiple players not doing their job.
Yeah, of course.
Cannot be held accountable for defensive.
He has to be held accountable for it. Come on,
we'll never agree. No, because he's not, James. He is not.
It's his job.
Okay, but what's his job? Is if he's defending from set pieces and not marking, fine. I never want Bruno Fernandes to be responsible for marking a player. Bruno Fernandes is an attacking midfielder.
Look, I'm just going to read you this quote from Bruno, all right? From himself in 2024. He says, I played, however, especially last season with Ten Hag deeper. In fact, against Everton, I played number 6, and I still think it was one of the most complete games I've played at all levels. In terms of passing, game organization, defense tactics, I have a thought in my head that I'm going to end my career further back because everyone who started there and went to number 10 ended up retreating on the field in the end. He has to take responsibility for it. He's just bad at it.
He didn't play a 6 yesterday, and he's not playing there right now. When he's playing there, we can talk about that. But right now, not a 6.
He's playing. He's playing deeper. He's in it too.
But how many defenders does this guy need?
It's not that many.
Is it also Sheffield's job to mark to Foden? I mean,
if a center back comes in the box, If a center back comes in the box, it's his job.
From a set piece, if my striker's getting behind the ball when the other team's attacking, I'm turning the TV off. I don't want to watch it. That's just shit. That's why any dickhead can pick 10 players to sit behind the ball. Anybody.
I get that, but City did that the whole game too. They sat behind the ball for most of the game. I know, but they did sit behind the ball. It wasn't like Holland was not, back.
Well, maybe give him a ring the chances created trophy. Well done, Matt. I don't know, man. To me, I'm not forgiving that. If you've got 3 centre backs and you're putting that goal on your most attacking advanced midfielder, that's odd to me. I don't get that. What's them 3 centre backs doing for? I'm supposed to do their job too. Is it their fault?
You only have 3. Like it's got to be that way. I mean, if teams attack with 6 or 7, you have to have the numbers back to defend them. You have to.
Yeah, but they weren't outnumbered in defense.
No, they weren't. That makes it even worse to me, though, to be fair.
United don't get numbers in the box and are comfortably suffocated.
Look, all I'm saying is this. It is Bruno's job to be there. I mean, in that system, it is his job. Ruben said it in the day before about Cobby, about how in that position, Bruno has to go back. That is his job. Whether he should be in that position, that's on a manager. But it is his job in that position to do it.
I've never in my life, in all my years of watching football, known for it to be for an attacking midfielder's responsibility to track offensive runners when they attack you. Because when you attack, where's your numbers?
But he's not the attacking midfielder in the system. Okay. He's not playing as an attacking midfielder.
He's playing in a 2 in the midfield.
Yeah.
Right? His job is to create.
Well,
if you have Bruno Fernandes behind the ball, James, where's your numbers to get out?
You have the wing backs and the 3 forwards. You have 5 players to get up in front of him.
The wing what?
The wing backs and the 3 forwards. Yeah, I understand, but they are supposed to be attackers.
So if they're wingers, they have no defensive responsibility.
No, they're in the middle. It's a 3-4-3. They're on the same level.
Okay, so if they're wing backs, they're starting in a defensive position.
No, they're starting in the middle. They should be directly in the middle. Very often, they do start way too far back, and that's why we don't have attack. Okay. And that is a problem, for sure.
When you start way back, that's because of an instruction.
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. Like,
play with wingers, then what the fuck are they doing back here?
Well, we do. We put Ahmad in on that side for a reason.
Go with the back. Because if you're going with 5, right, or a 3-5-2 or whatever you're playing, right, because it goes from a 5-3-2 to a 3-5-2. Ahmad is not a wing back. I don't want Ahmad getting the ball 60 yards from goal. I want him getting the ball 20 yards from goal where he only has to beat one player and he's causing danger. Here he's a liability because they don't want to defend. That's what you do not put attacking players with any defensive responsibility. They are a liability. James, I played forward my whole life and not at that level, but the mentality, they don't know how to tackle. They don't want to tackle. They don't want to chase back. It is a complete betrayal of every instinct in their head to run back and defend. And you do it in emergency situations because you know they're going to give a penalty away. They're going to do something stupid. And if I'm an attacker and attacker's marking me, I know exactly what they're thinking. Defender, easy. Defending's not difficult, James. To pick up on something what Michael Owen said, I could go and take a JCB and knock the fucking pyramids down. Any dickhead could do that, but not couldn't build them. Defense is destruction. Attack is creativity. Yep. Any dickhead can defend. Anyone. You don't even have to be a good footballer to defend well. Jack Charlton told you that.
Then shouldn't it be easy?
No. Well, it's difficult when you're asking attackers who are creative to defend because they don't know how to do it and don't want to do it. So I'm trying, and now it brings me back to, okay, we can sacrifice all these things for what? What benefit are we seeing that says this is worthwhile? Ahmad is being non-existent to start for this season. Why? Because he's playing a right wing back.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he played in the 10 and he was poor again, like.
Look at where, but he's picking the ball up. Look at where he's. This to me is so obvious. If I'm a forward, I don't want my forwards picking the ball up 60 yards inside my own, the other end of the pitch because they're a liability in that position because they want to attack. Anyway, man, I'm not buying any of this. And by the way, this isn't just me saying this. This is people who understand football. I mean, I'm listening to Gasparini talk about him out in complete disbelief that he's being played here. They know. Anyway, mate, I'm sick of it. Honestly, at least But Ten Hag, I was by the end of it, I was like, okay, this guy's got to go.
I mean, I was like that early on, and people argued in the reverse for a long time. You know what I mean? We'll just see what happens. I'm not saying I'm going to be right about it. I'm not even backing it. I'm just that, like, I don't actually see this easy, obvious, clear next step solution, because I think most of the things people suggest are going to send us backwards again, and that I'm even further backwards, and that I'm just not interested in.
Yeah, but to me, trying to stick with a mistake that you know is a mistake because you made a mistake before is worse. And I'm telling you right now that there are 3 or 4 changes you could make in that United team right now, just with the same lineup, that would result in different outcomes on a side. Maybe not in the long term, but I don't see a lot of alignment between what's going on the pitch and the ideas of what's going on off them, and them actually resulting in.
They have to result in wins. I mean, we're all in the same. I mean, everybody's in the same page on that. I'm not sitting there saying we can keep not winning games. We have to win games. I mean, at the end of it, that's all. That's what's right is if you win in the end. If you win games, you're right. If you lose games, you're wrong. So it's like that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. If I got a chef who's got these special ingredients and what's coming out of the oven looks like shit, eventually I'm gonna go, hey buddy.
Yeah.
If you want to change
you can't cook. Yeah. I'm with you. Look, at the end of it, philosophically, we can all see a lot of opinions in different ways, but the end result of it is we have to win games. And we're definitely at the point, for me, we have to win games. If we're not winning games, then it's pointless. Then it's not doing anything.
Yeah. You know what's sad to me before you go?
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that much anymore.
Yeah. I'm over it, but quicker than I wish I was, you know.
I watched the second goal, third goal go in. I'm like, it's sort of meeting an expectation where I'm like, I don't know. And then eventually, 10 minutes later, I'm doing something different. I'm like, it shouldn't feel this way.
Yeah.
But all right, meeting. We'll leave it there.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for all the downloads, folks. If we need to be back on Thursday for something we're talking about, Wednesday or Thursday, we will. Otherwise, we will see you next week. All best, James. See you later, mate. Take care. See you, Val. Bye.